everybody, it's Matt the Dice Chucker from Literary Gamers, and it's Book Review Monday, so we're going to be taking a look at The Third Kingdom. I'm doing all this because I'm trying not to get a glare. This is the copy from the library. This is not one of the books that I own, and I'll go over that why a little bit later. I just want to see if people, not that people agree with me on it, but my reasoning for that. So this is technically the 13th book in the Sword of Truth series, the second book in the Richard and Kaelin series. Now, I'm going to be looking down a lot because I have my notes, and let me see if I can... That helped a little bit. And just want to make sure that I get everything accurate as I can. And this week I have notes on my phone. So, this is the direct continuation of the Omen Machine. One of the reasons I think that possibly the Omen Machine and Third Kingdom were one book, or the whole Richard and Kaelin series was meant to be a whole book. But anyway, I digress. So they've gotten out of their... Richard and Kaelin have gotten out of their trouble with the Hedge Maid. They're stranded in what's known as the Dark Lands, and they are trying to find their way back because they need healing, and the only way they can heal properly is if they go into a containment field where things can be handled properly. They are not really like dying or sick from what the Hedge Maid had done. Kaelin is still knocked out. Richard is awake, and a group of people help them get away from some cannibals, and they go to this place. It's the Stroiza, the name of the caves. Now, one of the issues I think I have with this book is so much of nothing happens. So I'm not going to give away too much. They meet a sorceress named Sammy who says they can help Kaelin, but like I said, they need to be in the containment field. But once again, because like I said, I don't want to ruin much of anything. The first half of the book, I would even say the first 3/4 of the book, nothing really happens. And then at the end, kind of everything happens for the sake of continuing this series along. Next week, we are going to deviate to the prequel because I believe, I'm going to check this, I wrote it down, in the publication order of this, First Confessor came out before... Nope, we're going to do Severed Souls next week. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So, basically, there's a group with Bishop Hannes Ark, I think we talked about him last week, that's trying to bring back Emperor Sulachan from ages and ages ago. And there's this whole section where they're in one of the caves, and there's just this long section of recap. And granted, one of the things I'm happy about is, unlike Naked Empire, this is not like political writing at all. This was recapping a lot of what we've already read. There have been some TV shows, I'm not going to name them, where the drama was so heightened you spend the first half hour of an hour-long TV show recapping what happened in the previous episode. There's a particular show I'm talking about. I'm wondering if anybody knows what it is. I'll talk about it in the comments with you if you think you know which one I'm talking about. Anyway, this feels like what's going on here. And I'm not sure if Terry Goodkind believed that people who had never read a single Sword of Truth book are jumping straight into the 13th book in the series. But, I mean, it is possible. I remember as a kid, I would go to bookstores and I would see... the Wheel of Time books, usually in the fantasy section, and I could never figure out which one to start with. So part of me is like, is that what he's thinking about? Like, there's so many books in the series, no one knows which one to start with, or was the first one out of print by the time Third Kingdom came out? I don't think so. I think Wizard's First Rule was fairly mass market at that time. But I do get the sense that he feels like someone is picking this up as their first Sword of Truth book and going into it. Now, it didn't work for me. The recap was rough. we also get introduced to Samantha in this book. Samantha is a very important character as we go along. Young. I think she reminded me a lot of the child from Wizard's First Rule. Oh, I'm blanking. I'm really blanking. I know I should have written it down. Anyway, it'll come to me. It will eventually come to me. But the plans of bringing the dead emperor back, and they need magical blood to do that. I actually thought that was really interesting. I've talked about that Goodkind always sticks the landing when it comes to my opinion of this, anyway. And here is no different. I think he really did handle that subject matter well. Now, like I said, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm going to go over some other details here. But oh no, I said Samantha's introduced. It's Sammy. Sammy is the young sorceress. Rachel, the child from Wizard's First Rule. I got a lot of like Rachel-esque vibes from Samantha at first. I'm not going to ruin anything else until we get to the books that we need to talk about. But this one was exposition the book. And yes, you're actually introduced to the villain, and I think this is supposed to be Emperor Sulachan on the cover. You can kind of make it out, like I said, because it's the library copy. It's got the protective plastic over it. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be Emperor Sulachan. I don't know. The cover of the next book is even more confusing, and we'll get there when we get there. So anyway, once again, my issues come in the form of the overall length of things that don't need to be as long as they need to be. I think the recap was close to 100 pages, or maybe a little under, or even a little over. And then, of course, with the recap, I'm not saying that the political dialogue is gone, but with the recap, you often get, little snippets here and there of why Richard was right. And then you've got the other thing I really, we're in book 13. Okay, we're in book 13. There's been plenty of characters introduced, and I am not tired, and I'm not angry, and I'm not even disappointed. I really should expect it by now. It's too much about how Richard can always fix everything. I recently read an article that critiqued Goodkind's writing style as, they are great, like summertime books. I would say that this, for me, reading it again after reading so much other fantasy is what I would call medium weight fantasy. While putting things like Wheel of Time and Stormlight Archive onto heavy fantasy, as far as the depth that it goes and the characters it introduced and the retention you need to keep up with the story. And very lightweight fantasy books. We're talking, what was that? I had read it ages ago. Like the old Merlin books. I think they were the young adult Merlin books. I loved those, reading them as a kid. I would even consider... what was that one I read? Never mind. I'm off-roading and I'm wasting time. Anyway, so this, to me, I'm not sure if he was afraid to take risks with more characters, but I'm actually just getting tired of Richard being the solver of everything. I know he's a seeker of truth. I know that he has the answers, but it comes off a little lazy that more characters can't have more impact. And to be honest, when Richard can't fix it, Zed can fix it. And back to the article, Terry Goodkind always said that he writes strong female characters. And for the most part, I can agree with him. But so many times, those strong female characters need to be saved by Richard in particular. And it's getting a little exhausting. I am highly critical of this book. I am highly critical of Naked Empire. Naked Empire, Third Kingdom, and Severed Souls are some of my least favorite books in all of the Sword of Truth series. And it's just kind of... I don't want to seem mean, because Mr. Goodkind has passed on and he can't defend himself in the face of my review. I can appreciate the world building he's done. I can appreciate what he actually has done for fantasy. like him or not, you can't deny that Goodkind has had a very large impact on the genre. And I think we can thank him for that. I haven't read any of his crime books, and I do have Law of Nines on my list now to read because there are some connections from what I've been told. But there's just a lot here that isn't here. Does that make sense? There's a lot in this book that I think I really want to like. I love the idea of, using magical blood to bring back the old emperor. Spoilers, I'm sorry. But, I'm very vague on that, not telling you exactly how they do it. And creating more of a past, the world past. And even the Sulachan stuff, the emperor from, I believe I'm saying that correctly, from the past, he has some bearing on even the Nikki Sister of Darkness books. And because it's just really interesting in that fact. So where would I rate Third Kingdom? I think, looking back on it now, after the first time I read it, I think I gave it like 2 stars and said it was fine, but it's a book of nothing with the exception of introducing the villain for the next 3 books. And I say 3 because I lump First Confessor in there as well. And I still think that while I think the best villain the series had was Nikki when she was a villain. But it always just seems like the villains in these books are placeholders for the problem solving that Richard has to do, and Richard alone has to do. Because, yes, I understand, secret truth, all that, but have other people be able to do other things instead of just being what I call them the characters. Now, in the books that I've written, I tried to avoid characters, and what I mean by that is somebody writes through and then it explains something with world building or during the info dumps, and then the info dump is broken up by the other person going, said so and so, and that's all they do. The characters, and we get a lot of that in Goodkind because he really likes using his core 3, Richard, Calen, and Zed. Kara every once in a while, Nikki more in the later books, but and one of the reasons I think I liked the Chainfire trilogy so much is because Nikki became such a forefront player that it didn't feel like she had taken a back seat to the rest of the story. The story revolves around Richard. I get that, but he doesn't always have to be the hero. And that is the end of my very long rant of this singularity that's going on in these books. As far as, once again, I'm not sure I can even remember how many times Calen has faced death and Richard has had to save her. We kind of get that here in Third Kingdom because of the, she's not the one awake at first, and Richard's the one that's got to find a way to heal her properly. I think she's awake by the end of the book. I really do. Let me check here. Yep, she is safe at the end of the book. Sorry, once again, I'm just telling you everything. So let me talk to you why I don't own this book. It's not because I dislike it. In fact, I own Naked Empire, which is my least favorite book in the whole series. So why wouldn't I own this book? I have an odd obsession with when I own a book series, they all have to be in the same format. I only own two of the Goodkind books that revolve around these characters in mass market paperback, and that's because I've never seen... one of them I never saw in hardcover. The other I was too late to buy in hardcover. So Stone of Tears, I just haven't been able to find that book in hardcover at a price I like. There is a great used bookstore here in Connecticut, and they never seem to have that one. The other is Siege of Stone out of the Nikki Sister of Darkness Chronicles. I was too late in getting into that series to get the hardcover. I was always hoping it would go into like a bargain section, but I never saw it, and so I decided I just needed to pick it up, and then was able to see that there was a sale on the last one in hardcover. That's why I don't own Third Kingdom and Severed Souls, as I haven't found them in their hardcover format. So what I want to know is, does anyone else out there do this? Or are all your books like in different sizes and things like that? So I also, it's not that I dislike mass market paperbacks. My hands are so large that they're often way too, like when I hold the mass market paperbacks, especially in the summer, like my thumb starts to rub the ink off on some of the wording because it's hot. My hand covers more than half the book, and so it's a personal preference thing for me. I remember the last time I reviewed this book, someone asked why don't I just buy the mass markets? That's why. I mean, it has nothing to do with the book itself. I want to own the whole series, and so that's just the case of things. But back to Third Kingdom, I think I would actually drop this one to 1.5 stars. Because like I said, with the exception of the final portions of the book, it's a nothing burger. It really is. It's just getting you from point A to point B. And we're going to feel that way next week with Severed Souls, too. I hate to say that, but next week's review, being Severed Souls, is also going to kind of rank among this area. So, anyway, that's what I've got for you today. This has been The Third Kingdom. Like I said, probably 1.5 stars out of 5. It has nothing to do with the impact it has on the series, because this is an important book. It's just not really an exciting book. And when you're dealing in epic fantasy, you really got to make it an exciting book. Either politically, through warfare, through intrigue, any of that. And power plays. I just wish it was a bit more exciting. So that's what I have to say about Third Kingdom. We'll see you next week with Severed Souls, everybody. Bye.